Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new trailer. At the end of this week, it is TGS, or Tokyo Game Show, and we already know, thanks to a Famitsu livestream, that we're going to be getting news on each of the 4 days, so I'm already super excited for that. However, ahead of that, they dropped a Tokyo Game Show trailer, and this contains so much information. We now have a release date for the game, we have some pre-order details, we also have a look at some new monsters, a new map, some cinematics, the hub town, loads of stuff. This is literally the Megaton trailer, the trailer we've all been waiting for. So, as is tradition, I'm going to break it all down, tell you guys everything you need to know. Of course, if you want to watch the original trailer for yourself and then hear all the kind of voiceover and stuff because it's fully voiced, then I will link that down below. Definitely go and check it out. But if you want all the finer details, then look no further. If you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, let me know what you guys think. And also if I missed anything, then by all means, share that down below. Now, to begin with, just before we dive into the trailer, let's start with the thing you all want to know, the release date. January the 26th, 2018. That, my friends, is when Monster Hunter World launches on PS4 and Xbox One. Don't forget, it is coming to PC, but at a later date. We don't have a date for PC yet. We have no idea how soon or how far away it is. But for PS4 and Xbox One, January the 26th. So for those of you guys that were thinking we might have to wait even longer, that is not that far away. That is just like, we're already in September. That's basically 4 months away. So I am incredibly excited. However, with that out of the way, let's turn our attention to the trailer itself. First things first, it starts off by going through some of the maps that we've already seen. We have the Ancient Forest, we have the recently revealed or announced Wildspire Waste, the one they showed off at Gamescom. This is the desert map. But we then get a look at a brand new map, the Coral Highlands. And this is completely different to anything I honestly thought we would see. I genuinely thought the next map we would see would be either a volcano or a tundra, just because they're traditional maps that we expect in Monster Hunter. But this looks incredible. It essentially appears to be a coral reef just without the water. The reason I say that is, of course, because don't forget, Monster Hunter World does not have underwater combat. So despite the fact that this looks like it's underwater, it's not, and of course you'll see that in some of the gameplay a little bit later, but this just looks stunning. It is a complete contrast to any of the maps we've seen so far. They've had quite muted color palettes with, you know, greens and browns and beiges and oranges and whatnot. This is just a really vibrant map, looks different to anything we've ever seen in Monster Hunter, so that in itself, I genuinely cannot wait to explore it. I can't wait to see more from this map, but I'm just so happy to sort of see something that is just so different to anything we've seen to date. So that's pretty cool. And in the next scene, we get a look at what appear to be floating jellyfish and also some gusts of wind, which I'll speak about a little bit later. The next scene is the big spiky looking canyon we saw at the very end of the Gamescom trailer, where the huge Elder Dragon, or what I assume is an Elder Dragon, comes out. Now, if I had to hazard a guess, I would say this is probably one of those bespoke maps that you only visit on, say, that particular mission, as opposed to being one of the ones you actually explore, but I could be wrong. Either way, looks pretty cool, but also quite the ominous location based on some of the stuff that we'll be fighting there. Now after that, we then go look at the hunters walking out of a doorway, which I can assume is in the hub, and we're then on to the part of the trailer that shows us the actual hub town itself. Now obviously prior to this trailer, we had seen a little bit of the hub town in the Hunting 101 video, but it only gave us an isolated look at very specific areas. This one gives us a much broader look. Already this place just looks cool. There's a massive ship floating at the top. There appear to be lifts going up and down. This area here is probably going to be the marketplace where you'll go to buy things like potions or barrel bombs or other useful items. And then you have this area, which I'm going to assume is Monster Hunter World's farm. Now, if you guys are new to Monster Hunter, then Monster Hunter has always had a farming component. Whether it be a physical farm, like in some of the older games, or whether it be like a farm vendor you speak to, the point is, there's always been a way to go and, you know, gather things like seeds or mushrooms or honey or catch bugs or mine ores, and ways to duplicate items. So if you have things like a seed that you want to farm, you can then place it somewhere, and then, you know, you go off on some quest, you come back later, and then there are more of them for you to collect. So this, just based on the way it looks, is probably going to be that farm. We then go to look at some hunters walking through the hub. The armor set on the right is one we've seen before. I actually used it in some of my videos at Gamescom. The one on the left appears to be a standard plate mail armor, and in the back is a hunter wearing full Anjanath gear. We then have an NPC doing what I can only assume is researching a Rathalos. Now, quite why the Rathalos is in the town, I have no idea. But again, bear in mind that in Monster Hunter World, they're putting a bigger focus on the story and like cinematics and whatnot. So if this is their way of kind of explaining how we learn about monsters, that could be kind of cool. We then get to see the smithy working on some weapons. Of course, the completed weapons then come out on this cool conveyor belt. And we then get to see some cats jumping down. Two of them are wearing armor sets we've seen before. The one on the left is full Anjanath gear for your Palico. The one in the middle is the bog standard gear. The one on the right is a new set we haven't seen yet, but I'm pretty sure, based on the way it looks, that it comes from a monster we'll be meeting in this trailer very shortly. After that, we then get to see the head chef cooking with all of his sous chefs. Now, this is a really cool part. I know a while back some people were asking, given the fact that Monster Hunter World looks a little bit more realistic, is it still going to have all that kind of charm that the older games do? And I think it's safe to say, seeing things like this, that is still very much present in this game. I mean, seeing a giant cat cooking a steak, it's definitely Monster Hunter. Let's put it that way. After that, we get to meet a few characters. I'm going to assume this is a main character, someone we'll speak to throughout the story. We see him a lot of times in this trailer, so he's probably going to be spearheading the operation that we'll see in just a moment. This part appears to be the ground level of that big spiky looking canyon. They come in on the ship. You're of course getting ready for the assault, because the next scene goes to show just how big this monster is. They're obviously getting ready for this fight, and it comes out the ground like the scene we saw in the Gamescom trailer, but then you can see all these hunters running out of the front. You can see the wooden scaffolding and the ballista to the right, and that just goes to show just how big this thing is. Now, just to confirm, there are no raid type quests in Monster Hunter World. I asked that at Gamescom. They confirmed that you will still be fighting this monster with only 4 of you, so despite the fact you see all these hunters running around, that's just going to be part of the cutscene. So, still 4-man quests, but that thing is huge. I can't even begin to think how we're going to take that on, but I am incredibly excited. Next up, we're going to look at another new monster, but this definitely looks almost like a cross between a reptile and Naga. There are certain moves that look reminiscent of Naga, the way that it sort of spins around and whips the tail, the way that it sort of prowls around, but it is a very, very cool reptilian-looking creature. Speaking of reptilian, I did mention in some of the armor sets in the past that some of them appeared to have these sort of reptile-like scales on them, so it could well be that one of the armor sets we've seen up until now could come from this monster. Also worth calling out that the hunter here is using a sword and shield, and this is a new sword and shield, one we haven't seen before. Again, not entirely sure where it comes from, but that is a new weapon, because up until now, most of the weapons we've seen from the demos have just been the standard iron weapons. After that, we're then back in the new map with a really, really cool looking monster. This appears to be a wyvern. It's got the standard wing structure, walks on 2 legs, it's got the tail, but it also appears to be able to puff up its head or its neck into this big, fluffy looking balloon, and because of that, I'd be willing to hazard a guess that this is probably the monster where you get this armor set from, just because the hat on the female looks basically like the inflated head on this monster. So that's really cool. I'm liking the fur-like texture on it. That looks very different to sort of anything we've seen before. However, on top of that, we also see a new armor set on this hunter. The hunter's wielding an insect glaive, a new insect glaive. There's this interesting ornate fan design at the top of it, but also the armor set is one we haven't seen so far, so that's new. We then get another look at this chameleon type wyvern that we saw in the Gamescom trailer, and we actually have a name for it now. It is called Puke Puke, so that's kind of cool. But new to this one, he appears to be able to attack with his tongue and also his tail. His tail seems to be able to billow out this poisonous smoke, so that's going to be pretty lethal. He's obviously going to be dangerous both from the front and the back. And then next up, we get another new monster. This appears to fall in the same sort of category as the sort of raptor-type monsters, so your Jaggies, your Baggies, your, Gemprays, things like that. But this one has an ability similar to Gypsaros, in that it has something on your head which you can then create a blinding flash, and then, clearly make you see stars for a little bit, so you're probably going to want to break that early on, deal with that, or look away when it flashes. So that's quite cool. We then get a very quick look at a monster we'll see more of later on in the trailer, but this is the flagship monster. This is a monster called Neru Gigante. We found that out during the Sony TGS press conference. It looks really, really quite scary. It's covered in spikes, angry looking face, massive horns, huge wings, but again, we get a better look at that a little bit later, so we'll wait until then to speak about it properly. Following on from there, a few more cutscenes, you get to see some more characters, so, really trying to drill down the point that there will be story and narrative in this. We also see another new monster, looks like a dragon type monster or like an elder dragon, and this one here looks kind of like a cross between like a praying mantis and a dragon. The face of it looks much more dragon-like, whereas the body looks much more insect-like, so again, a new monster. I really want to find out the names for all of these so we can actually start referring to them by their actual names, but either way, that's another one to add to the list. We then get a look at the Palico speaking to one of the wildcats. Now, this is something I did a video on just the other day, so if you guys missed it, I will link it down below, but this basically explains how the Palicos are able to ride some of the smaller monsters. They essentially speak to some of the local wildcats, and they can then teach them abilities, and some of those abilities include the language of the monsters, so you can then speak to them. And as you can see in this scene, the Palico is riding that Jaggi. So it gives you a little bit of context as to what's going on right now. We then get to see a few more scenes, we get to see some more stuff from the Wildspire Waste, and we're then onto this rather interesting scene. We're on a boat in the ocean, and that big Elder Dragon comes out. Now, I really, really hope that we get to fight that thing in like multiple different locations. Imagine for a moment if we get to fight it in sort of a Genmoran, Darren style situation. We're on a boat, do some damage to it, and then like later on we fight it elsewhere, because this thing seems to be popping up everywhere. So whether this is just like a cutscene and then later on we fight it in the canyon, or whether we get to fight it there, only time will tell. However, after that, we're then going to look at a few more cutscenes. I'm going to assume these could well be the ways that we're like introduced to monsters. We get to see Rathalos here, we get to see a hunter sliding underneath Barroth, and we also get to see the hunter beneath the Anjanath. Now, again, for those of you guys new to Monster Hunter, in the past, anytime you meet a monster for the very first time, you used to get like a cutscene for it. This would be sort of like an ecology cutscene, and it would basically sort of set up the monster. You'd see it coming down, you'd see it kind of getting angry, and then it would ultimately end up in front of you. However, in Monster Hunter Generations, they ditched that for a much more kind of comic-style freeze-frame thing, which was kind of cool in its own way, but not quite as dramatic, so hopefully we see those return. But the next scene, you actually get a look at a hunter making good use of the Rocksteady Mantle to avoid that rock throw from that new monster we saw in the Gamescom trailer. And then we're on to the Glider Mantle. I mentioned earlier this notion of the wind. Now, if you saw my glider video during Gamescom, you'll know that the description for the Glider Mantle says that not only can you jump off ledges and fly with it, but you can also catch wind drafts and then use them to raise you up. Now, in the Ancient Forest, there were none of those drafts. But in this new Coral Reef looking map, there clearly are, because in this situation the hunter jumps off, they then fly up into the sky, kind of like how you would in Zelda Breath of the Wild, so that's going to be a great way to traverse your way around the map. A few more cutscenes after that, we get a look again at the sheer scale of that monster, breaking through the scaffolding, and then it ends with the hunters using the Dragonator. Again, for those of you guys that are new to Monster Hunter, anytime you fight these huge monsters in these sort of bespoke encounters, there is typically a Dragonator, which is a huge, powerful weapon. Works on a timer. You basically pull a lever or press a button, and it'll then fire at this big spear. So if the monster's nearby, it does a lot of damage to it, but you then can't use it again for another 5 or 10 minutes. So again, to see that in Monster Hunter World was pretty cool. However, it doesn't end there. Despite the fact you get the title screen, you then get the post-credit scene, so to speak. And this is where we get a better look at Nerugigante. As mentioned, this is the flagship monster. I know for a little while people were a bit unsure since Rathalos appeared to be the box monster, but this is the flagship monster. In fact, there's actually going to be a collector's edition for Monster Hunter World, and in that will be a big statue of Nerugigante. So that is so awesome. I'm definitely going to get that. That one I need in my life. I need it in my collection, so 100% going to be picking that up. But as mentioned, flagship monster, we don't know anything about it right now. We don't know whether it's an Elder Dragon. We don't know, what element it is. We don't know what it's like in kind of combat and gameplay. This is literally all we've seen. But it has these insanely huge horns. It is covered in spikes. It kind of looks like someone took Teostra and just did like a massive science experiment on it and then just made it evolve into this really angry looking spiky monster. Whatever it is, I cannot wait to fight it. I also can't wait to see what the armor and the weapons look like for this. I mean, imagine just how spiky it's going to be. I reckon the armor sets for this are going to look absolutely incredible. However, what's also interesting is that it isn't just flying off from any location. You'll notice that where it took off from is actually the back, or appears to be the back, of that huge Elder Dragon. You can see the wooden scaffoldings around, you can see the markings of the ravine. So the fact that this monster is on the back of that monster partly again goes to show just how big it is, but also maybe hints at the fact that we might be able to fight on that monster. Imagine if for a second we're not even fighting that monster. Imagine if we're just fighting something else on the back of the Elder Dragon. I mean, that would just be incredible. So again, only time will tell. After that, we then get a look at the aforementioned release date. However, there are a couple more things. At the end of this, we get a look at the pre-order bonus. So first things first, if you pre-order the game, you will get access to the Origin set armor. The caveat being that the armor doesn't come with the weapon, it is just the armor set. This is of course one of the traditional Monster Hunter armor sets, and you also get the Fairwind Charm. It doesn't say what the Fairwind Charm is, but that's something you can get from pre-ordering. However, on top of that, you also get this, and this looks incredible. I mean, I was already going to pre-order Monster Hunter anyway, but if you pre-order the Digital Deluxe Edition, you get the game as a download. You also get the Samurai set, but it does call out that the Samurai set only changes the appearance of the equipment and doesn't actually include any weapons. So this is going to be like a cosmetic set that goes on top. So it's not going to be like you buying power or you buying a set that nobody else can get. It's basically more like you can make yourself look like this, but it's not going to change your stats. So I definitely want that. Some of you guys might remember if you saw my Generations videos, I was a huge fan of the Toka armor set. So definitely need that in my life. On top of that, you also get 3 gestures, 2 stickers, 1 face paint, and 1 hairstyle. Now, I'll probably do a video a little bit later on talking about the gestures and the stickers, because I've actually got them from Gamescom. I went through all the menus and showed you all those different things. There's quite a lot of kind of customization things there, options for you to basically communicate with other people in chat. They're kind of fun, but of course, that is the stuff that comes with it. So if you pre-order the game, you can get the Origin armor set, and of course if you pre-order the digital deluxe version, you can also get all this stuff here. On top of that, they also announced that there will be a special edition PS4 Pro that has a Rathalos design in it. It looks really, really cool. Kind of a missed opportunity they didn't put Neru Gigante on it, but I guess given the kind of heritage of the series and whatnot, Rathalos is the iconic Monster Hunter monster, so this is a PS4 Pro, limited edition one. At the moment, they're only talking about it being available in Japan. I don't know whether we will get it over here, as and when I find out more, I will let you guys know. But pre-orders for that do, of course, go up this week, so that's really cool. I don't necessarily need it, but it does look quite cool. The controller is red, the console is black with this sort of cool design on it. So yeah, that is something else on top. So, that, my friends, is pretty much it. That's a breakdown of the trailer. That is, of course, the release date. That's the pre-order stuff. So much new stuff to go over. I will probably be scraping through this trailer for the next few days. There may all be things that I've missed. And of course, there may also be stuff that they elaborate on more when TGS actually happens. Because since this was the TGS trailer, and of course TGS is coming up, then hopefully we'll learn more about those monsters. Maybe we might even get to see some gameplay against those monsters. It'd be really cool if they did some like stage demos at TGS where they were showing some new monsters. So definitely keep it locked. I will try and keep you guys as up to date as possible. I'm not going to be at TGS, but I will definitely be at my desk, scouring the internet for news, letting you guys know everything. Anyway, for the time being, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.